You may have seen this already. Another set of impeachment articles have been filed against Donald Trump, this time for war in Iran, for war crimes, for usurping the congressional war powers, for gutting programs millions of Americans rely on, programs Congress already voted to fund. And a lot of people's reactions to this is, finally, it's about time. I get that, I really do. But is this actually a good news story? Yes, but not in the way that most people think. Here's the honest truth. Congress is full of people who will never vote to remove Donald Trump. We don't have the votes, we're probably not going to get the votes, and everybody filing these articles already know that. So is some of this just performative? Yeah, probably. Is it also a sign of how weak and ineffective Congress has become? Also yes. But if you already know this probably isn't going to succeed, then the interesting question isn't whether it's effective. It's what caused a 27-year incumbent who hasn't really fought for anything to be the one to do it now. Because that answer tells you something real about how political power responds to public pressure. You may not have heard of him before this week, but what's happening to him right now is one of the clearest signs of democracy working that I've seen in years. His name is John Larson. He represents Hartford, Connecticut, and the surrounding towns, and he's been in Congress since 1999. In all of those years, no Connecticut House incumbent has faced a primary challenge. Not once. Until this year. 3 challengers filed against him. A former mayor, a school board member, a state rep. All younger, all basically saying the same thing. It's time for new leaders who are actually going to fight for us. And then suddenly, a man who spent 27 years in Congress not making many waves is the most active version of himself that anyone has seen in years. Impeachment articles. Showing up to Democratic town committees he hasn't been to in years. Fighting for every labor endorsement he can possibly get. Is this a desperate attempt to look like he's really working for the people? Maybe. But here's the thing. It doesn't actually matter if it's desperation or conviction. What matters is what caused it to happen now. 3 people filed against him to run. That's all it took. Nobody even won yet. The primary isn't even until August 11th. The challenge alone was enough to wake up a 27-year incumbent and turn him into the most active member of Congress in his state. That is accountability. That is exactly what primaries are meant to do. And that's what primaries do to people already in power. Here's what they do for challengers. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez beat a 10-term incumbent establishment leader with about 16,000 votes in a primary that basically nobody was watching. And she's now one of the loudest voices in Congress. Zohran Mamdani ran for mayor of New York, running against opponents that had $40 million of billionaire-backed money. He won in a landslide. And now those same billionaires have to work with him. James Tallarico just won the Senate primary in Texas against a sitting member of Congress without taking a single dollar of PAC money. He's now running to flip a Senate seat that Democrats haven't held since 1988. And Graham Plattner, an oyster farmer and Marine Corps veteran with no political experience, is leading a 2-term state governor for the Maine Senate primary. And he's leading by so much, by about 38 points in the polls, that his campaign has already transitioned to the general election, where he leads the incumbent Republican senator. None of these people started in Washington. They all started local. And even the ones who haven't won yet are already changing what's even possible. And here's why that keeps being possible. On average, only about 20% of eligible voters show up to vote in primaries, which means if you're one of them, your vote carries roughly 5 times as much weight as it will carry in the November general. And in a state like Connecticut that has an August primary that people aren't used to having, that number could be even higher. Now, I know that some Democrats will say we shouldn't even be fighting against each other. We should be saving it all for the general. I respectfully disagree, because that argument assumes we already have the right people in place, and we don't. The people who sleepwalked us right into a second Trump term were never held accountable politically. They kept their seats, they kept their committee assignments, and they certainly kept their donor networks. And they kept doing what they've always done, which really hasn't been enough for decades. Healthy competition is not weakness. Demanding better candidates is not division. It's how we build a party that actually deserves to win. So here's what I want you to do. Find out when your primary is. Find out who's running. Use the tools at your disposal like AI or even just your search engines. Look for people with real track records. Look for people who are not taking corporate PAC money. Look for people who are interested in talking about building something new, not just performative outrage. And when you find one, support them. Not in November, but now. Donate $5 if you have it. Go volunteer to door knock on a few doors. Definitely show up to vote in the primary when most people are not. Remember, Only about 1 in 5 people actually show up to vote in these primaries. Be one of them. The people in power are counting on you to decide it's not worth it. Don't give them that. I'm Chris Rivers. This is Reimagining America. And voting in the primaries is where the change really starts to happen. Drop a comment down below. If there's a primary race happening in your area, tell me about it. I read all the comments, and I'll respond to as many as I can. If you haven't yet, please click like on this video, drop a comment below, and click that subscribe button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm make sure that these videos are getting into your feed. Thank you.